Hello and welcome back to my channel. If you're new, welcome. Today we are talking about a fanfiction called Bittersweet Cafe. Details about this fanfiction in the description below. This is one of those fanfictions where Izuku, never gets the cork passed down to him, so he's still corkless, and he ends up opening a cafe. I was gonna say there's other fanfics out there where he opens like his own cafe, but this one, it's already established. We're kind of like just put in the middle of it. We have no idea what led up to anything of Izuku having his cafe, or we're kind of put in the middle of it. And then the people around him are also kind of left to pick up the pieces and put them together to figure out what's going on, because he's the only one, him and another person, and maybe like one other person, a few, very few, in like his inner circle truly know what led up to that moment of him getting to this point. But we're just kind of dropped in where Koda lives with him, right? Because it started out as just kind of like almost basically babysitting him until the wild pussycats ended up in the hospital for a bit. And kind of at that point already, since they're in the hospital, he stayed with them. So it just kind of over time became permanent. So Koda just always goes back to them. And Muscular, forget about it. During Koda's literally like first week there, when he was bonding with Izuku, he had said, you know, like his parents had died and it was to this villain. And so like, and then like a week later, Muscular's like tied up. And so he would end up being captured. So it's like, so mysteriously he's taken down. Oh my god, I wonder who. And then Eri, who is the newest addition, because she was rescued from Kai and like the whole Yakuza. So she was rescued. So she's technically the newest addition, only been there for a couple of months. Izuku and Katsuki's relationship a hell of a lot better. Their relationship at the beginning, because they were kids, was very strained, right? Because he's quirkless, Katsuki's not. And everyone's perception of him, because again, kids would follow whatever, right? Everyone's perception of him was that he's like, no question about it, he's gonna turn into like a villain, because his quirk is it's explosions, right? It's very flashy, but also very violent. And pair that with like his attitude and like his cursing and like how he gets that from his mom, didn't, paint a great picture. So to fit in, of course, he followed the crowd with kind of ostracizing Izuku. And then out of nowhere, he kind of just disappeared for a while. Just out of nowhere. And then he came back. Right? And he was much more sure of himself, much more confident. And somewhere, I mean, because they're no longer like the naive, like 4 or 5 year olds they once were, right? And pair that with him being gone for a good while, it's like, where have you been? And even Katsuki, like he knows more, a bit more, not much, but he knows a bit more than the others. But even then, it's not a lot, because like Inko, Izuku will never speak on it, so he just learned to stop asking, because I mean she's not here, so it's clear it's like it's probably nothing, good. And he has this whole cafe. No one knows who his backer is, but he just says, "Oh, I have a big, sponsored backer," right? But no one, like, he'll never say who it is. That he refuses to say anything. And because it's like down the street from like UA, all of them go there. Of course, out of costume, which makes it so Katsuki doesn't really, because not in UA yet, doesn't really recognize any of them, because like like Hizashi, his signature hair's gone, and like he's like just in regular civilian clothes, doesn't recognize any of them, doesn't even put it together at all. And it's not just them, it's like plenty of other heroes too that go there, like Hawks. And this is where it's like there's layers to it, right? Because everyone knows some level of Izuku, but not the entire picture. They have like parts of it, but not the entire picture. Like Hizashi and Shota know that, yeah, he had basically completed his schooling, right? He finished middle school online, and then he quickly finished his high school, and like it didn't take him long to finish it. So he finished all his schooling, and he has his cafe now. He owns it, and he has this really big backing. No one knows who it is. He doesn't want to say, and he just has Eri and Coda. Oh, and he's, you know, super chill with pretty much every hero ever. But, you know, to them, makes sense. Yue is literally down the street, and he's pretty calm about a lot of things, especially since he forces the rule no violence. Hates Endeavor, though, but still, no violence. And he has a great, like, he's really great at analyzing people's quirks and can easily write you an entire paper how you can improve and what you can do to better yourself and train. And so that's kind of on the level that they all know him at. And Katsuki being like a closer to him also knows that, but also like, you know, he is trained by him personally. He does, you know, they're closer. So he knows a bit more than them. Still not much, but a bit more. And what leads up to Katsuki's, well, not really his work. It's what the entrance exam. There you go. I couldn't remember what it's called. The entrance exam where like he's training him really hard to do it. And at one point he really, you know, it was after he had gotten it and he's accepted. He has said like, oh, he could have easily done it, but and Izuku, you know, because reality is like, well, they're robots. Like, what can he do against robots? Given time, sure, but it was timed, and Katsuki even has to acknowledge that because like Izuku's really strong, and he knows that. But it's only so much you can do against robots, right? But at one point during the night, because the three of them, Erikoda and Izuku, they live in the cafe, right? They live upstairs, and so he's like taking trash out, finds someone, just like he looks dead, but he's not dead. Oh, would you look at that? It's Davi. And so he drags him inside. So he wakes up. I mean, he lies. Not great. He's like, "Oh, I'm Dobby." It's like, wow, you're real bad at lying. Like you almost just immediately said your real name. I don't know who even does that, but he lets him stay there just because you know which is constantly a thing. No one knows, and no one really questions all that much. At least not in the beginning. That Izuku knows more than he should, right? But because of his demeanor, how he comes across, like how he looks and how he is, no one really takes him as a threat or really any like seriously. So it's not like he's like suspicious or anything, because they can easily just be like explained away. Except with certain things that are like, you know, like immediately knowing Toya's home life, where he's like, you know, asking like, "Are you gonna force me back home?" Absolutely not. I'm not gonna force you back home with him. Like to the abusive household, absolutely not. It's like, how do you know all that? And at first, Dabi doesn't even really want to stay. Like he still goes by Dabi, just to make sure. Can't really go by Toya. I mean, but at first he doesn't really want to stay because he doesn't want to impose. Because he's like, oh, because they go upstairs. He's like, oh, you have kids. He's like, oh my god. I think you were younger. Like, oh, I can't stay. It's like, they're not my kids. They're literally my siblings. What are you talking about? Like, they're my adopted siblings. What are we on about right now? And so he ends up taking him in, and you know, as a repayment, he really wants to do his part and help him around the cafe. And even though, like, you know, Izuku insists, like, oh, you don't have to do it at all, you know, he still does, you know, end up helping, even if he does mess up a little bit at times. Not that he really cares. Katsuki ends up, like, after his first day, first off, his first day there, Izuku knows this. They all know this. Because when Katsuki had made a point, like a comment, when Kota, they went to a museum and he made a comment about how stupid it was that the heroes wore such flashy costumes, because why would you want the villains to see you coming? And then Katsuki was like, well, I want to look badass. Like, plus, you could just, when you're not on job, you should take it off and wear your civilian clothes. No one's gonna know who you are. And it's like so ironic because, like, yeah, you're in a cafe full of heroes right now. And so he's like, knowing this, like, he just doesn't care. He finds it funny. Sends him off like that morning. He's like, yep, have fun. And so, like, his first like homeroom teacher obviously is like Shota. So he's like, you. It's like, he's like, what are you doing here? Does he know about this? Like, yes. Anyway, unimportant. No, it's not. And so so that happens throughout the entire day because we reckon all of them literally go to the cafe. He's like, oh my god. So they all end up going to the cafe. Kaminari, Mina, and Kurashima end up catching up with Bakugo, and the rest of the class get dragged in, right? Because they already went to the cafe before, just the three of them. They had first lost him, and then they found him again in the cafe. Like, oh, when did you get here? It's like, I've been here. What is wrong with you? Like, you didn't notice me. And this is where all of them get dragged into going to the cafe, right? Katsuki is already there. Of course he is. And this is where, again, it shows he knows more than he should, but it's easily brushed off because, well, this time it can't really be explained, but they get kind of like they get distracted by other things because he knows all their names. How does he know their, like, he's never met any of them before, other than, Mina, Kurashima, and Kaminari. They came in the day before, sure, but the others never met them before. And even for Uraraka, he said, on the house, don't have to pay for it. As if, like, because it's like, he clearly know, but it's easily because they get distracted. So they easily move on from it and just forget about it. But it's like the subtle, well, is it subtle? I don't know, because it's kind of blatantly said to us, but it is like, to them, even though they're not paying attention, that it's like he knows more than he should about them, their situations, everything. Izuku also has like this other side to him that like they don't really know about, but they kind of do in a way, where he's like this information broker or informant, right? Where he, because he again knows more than he should, can put the pieces together like a lot more, like faster than others could. Like Hawks, he walks in, and under the guys were just kind of sitting there for a few minutes of like ordering a coffee and just kind of chilling out for a few minutes. And when no one noticed that he slipped a flash drive to Izuku so he could look at the information and get back to him. So he's like some sort of like information broker on the side that no one really knows about, but also kind of does, because they also go to him, but more like advice, because again, they know about him, like him and his analysis, right? He's really good at analyzing people's cores and people's situations and villain attacks, and calling the right person in of like, okay, this person would be good to take down this villain because of their core or the way that they handle themselves and move. And so they go to him for like advice, even though some of them might be a little unsure at first. They go to him for advice on maybe how to deal with a villain, but not really. They don't really know how deep it goes. The major thing that kind of kicks everything off and really kind of gets story going is Izuku being kidnapped, right? During the whole USGJ incident. He's clearly like a hostage, so he gets kidnapped. Ari's there, and he tells him like, okay, don't come any closer, right? So as per like, okay, we prepared for this moment of anything ever happens, runs back to the cafe. Kota and Dabi are there. It's like, what happened? It's like, portal opened, grabbed him, we need to go, right? So under the circumstance, Dabi has no idea what's going on. And so Kota explained it like, they don't know either. But they do know that Izuku, he said, if anything ever happens to him, like, because they have, like, packed emergency, like, backpacks for, like, if something like this ever happened. So grab your backpacks, go to UA immediately. So they're like, okay. Dobby's, like, nervous, grabbing his wallet. Is like, and make sure bring your ID. He's grabbing his wallet, his, like, keys to the cafe. He's like, what is happening? And at first, he doesn't, like, he's not sure because, like, obviously it's UA. You can't just walk in and, like, it'll set off the alarm. Like, so he's nervous, but then Kota just runs in because, like, we don't have time for this. Okay, Izuku said to do this. Then they trust Izuku, and, like, he's been kidnapped. So, like, and they're completely fine. And then Nezu, like, so they go in, and Nezu over, like, the intercom says, like, I'll direct you to the office. Like, what's happening right now? And so they end up talking, and so Dobby's, like, kind of defensive at first because it's like this, because Nezu's just like, oh, this is about Izuku, and he's defensive because, like, how do you know about Izuku? Like, how do you know about that? Because, like, to his knowledge, they never met before. But Nezu easily kind of brushes it off, like, well, of course he's friends with the staff here. Of course he'd know about him, and plus this cafe is, like, down the street. So, and it's like, yeah, again, another instance that's brushed off and seemingly not that deep, even though, let's be real, there's definitely some connection towards them. And so they end up explaining it. Nezu is very relaxed about it, right? Even though Davi is like, why are you so relaxed? You have to find him. You have to, help him. And it's like, we will. But, he's basically like, Izuku's not stuck with them. They're stuck with him. That, he'll be fine. But they promise they'll work on finding him. And obviously when Morgan gets out to, Shota and everyone else, they're equally worried, right? Shota went by because he always goes by in the morning. And so Shota and Hisashi went by in the morning, and obviously they found it closed. Immediately red flags, to him at least. Hisashi wanted to leave and brush off first, like, maybe he's taking a break finally. And he's like, Shota's like, no. Because he never does. And so now it being confirmed, like, yeah, he's kidnapped. So don't be surprised if you see, like, the three of them around. It's like, Jesus. Okay. And so they're, like, comforting the three of them, like, best they can. And so when USJ does happen, Izuku's just kind of sitting there, and all of them are panicked, of course, except Katsuki, because he's just like, he finds this funny. He's like, are you serious? Did your dumbass get kidnapped? Are you serious? And so he's like, yeah, whatever. So he easily frees himself, and then he ends up breaking Shigaraki's jaw, because, like, you can't give orders. He immediately, like, he's like, he immediately recognized that Nomu clearly takes, orders from Shigaraki. So it's like, well, you can't give orders if your jaw is broken. And just walks away and nothing happens. He's like, well, I have to get back to the others now. Bye. Of course, the next day he has to give, like, a statement anyway to the police. And this is very clear. Like, he literally walks into Nez's office because they go to UA for it. And he's like, his Aryan colors kind of wander off. And Dobby too, because, like, no reason for them to really be there during his statement, but he literally walks in and is like, what's up, Dadsu? So it's like, okay, you very clearly have a connection. Like, and the whole mysterious backer behind his cafe, clearly him. How they met, who knows? But it's very clear, okay, that's some sort of connection. And no one really knows about it. And during his statement, he tells, like, the truth, but it's, like, not the complete truth, right? He did get kidnapped. He did sound self-free, but it's not, like, the complete truth of anything. He meets everyone, all of 1B and everything, because, like, they're all crowding outside of 1A. And so he ends up meeting Shinso. He immediately catches his attention. He's just staring at him because he's looking at him. It's like, you got potential. I see. Not that strong, but you got potential. And Katsuki's like, I feel bad for you. It's like, it causes attention. I feel so bad for you. Good luck with that. This is solely on you, though. And So during the sports festival, he closes down the cafe again, even though it would probably make him a profit. But he wants to know because obviously Katsuki, competing would be great for him. And Shota's like, let's make it easier because Nezu, again, they don't know the connection between the two. So he's just as surprised as everyone else that like Nezu wanted him like invited and have like a VIP seat. It's like, okay, this makes it easier. And so when everybody goes, it's like, oh, really great, makes it easier. Like as if like we have no idea. Okay. And Shinso obviously ends up placing. He ends up beating Shoto. Um and completely, right? And so which Endeavor isn't really too happy about. Not that it matters. Um but this also starts the whole Shinso learning under Izuku thing, right? Because he comes in, first off, Izuku comes in. The whole reason he's there, I mean, also to support Katsuki, but also to analyze how everyone fights 1A and 1B. How everyone fights, analyze the quirks, what they could improve on, and what they could do better in their training and everything. And so he gives all of his like analysis to Shota like the next day. He's like, and so again, that's what he was originally there for anyway. But in his mind, Shota, he's like, Nezu must have found out about his analysis skills and got him to do this. Sure. And so he also goes on to give 1B, and Shinso, because he's still working it out, doesn't really have this yet. But he's also talking with Shinso, and he wants to know more about his quirk, what he can do, what he can't, and he doesn't really have to limit because, I mean, like, no one really wants to talk to him. So, like, how could you? And he made such casual and light conversation, like, light up, like, because you can see that Shinso's very nervous because obviously he's been discriminated against because of quirk. He's like, quirkism. He's like, oh, I've had the same thing, because he hasn't really told anyone that he's quirkless, just because everyone, they have asked him, what is your quirk? And he's just kind of been playing with them, like, it's for you to find out. So he hasn't really told them, right? But he's like, oh, I'm just like, he can relate, been discriminated against. He's like, oh, been suicide and whatever. And he's making such light of it that it's just like, what? It's just like, he's like so baffled by it. But by the end of it, he's like, well, it's like, have you, because he's getting more information. He's like, oh, okay, what about support items? He's like, I'm not in hero course. He's like, I forgot to tell you about that. I'm transferring you to hero course. Can you even do that? You're not even a teacher. He's like, oh, it's fine. You're completely fine. And so Shinso does go to, he's like, so totally transferring. He's like, oh yeah, it's fine. I just told about it, man. Go on in. So it's very clear. It's like, he's got some connections more than anyone ever thought he did in the beginning. The whole attack happens with Nomu and Stain. That happens. Izuku just happens to be there. He really does just happen to be there. Because he's there with Shinso, Dabi, Area, and Koda, right? They're literally in the area because they're just getting some food. And then the attack happens. You're like, wow, that's wild. I'm gonna take a look now. And goes. And Shinzo goes like back up because he's like, hold on, I'm not, letting you go. Dabi is like, he's probably doesn't want him to go because it's like, you got kidnapped like a month ago. I don't feel comfortable letting you out. So Shinzo is like, I'll go, right, with them. And so that's when they end up running into him. And then he ends up taking him down. Or not really taking him down completely. He more just scolds him because he's like, because of course, they already, they know each other. Of course they knew each other. And he's like, hey, nice to see you again. So what you been up to other than, killing people like a psychotic person? It's like, oh yeah, nothing much. It's like, what are we doing here? He's like, oh, he's turning himself in. Even he's surprised. He's like, what are we talking about? And I'm not, what? And he's like, yes, you are. It's like, alright. So that's the end of it. And so Izuku, again, knowing people in places is great. He has connections, and so he ends up being in charge of the case, which is shocking to plenty of people. Even Shota's like, what are you doing? What the fuck? What are we doing here? And they're even shocked about it. This is where the class also finds out, like, around this point, because he just says it, because the whole incident comes out, like really what happened to them, not like everyone else in the media, just to them in their little class. Plus, they question like Ida was like, "What were you even doing there?" He's like, "Honest, I was just there for dinner. I really wasn't trying to get involved." But he but he's going on. It's like, "Oh, even if you didn't use your quirk, you still get the law, blah blah blah." And he's like, "Can't really. I don't have one." So like, what is it? This is where they're finding out. Like, oh, and this is where he's like obviously defensive again about Izuku. He's like, "You got a problem with it?" It's like he's very defensive of it, and like Baku is too, because it's like he's not gonna just let that slide or anything. But none of them say anything. They're just more shocked than anything. Mina does ask though, it's like, if you did have a quirk, what would it be? And he's like, none. I don't want a quirk. I would never want a quirk. It just holds me back more than anything. And so now, a new family member required. Hooray! And so he now lives with them in the cafe. Ari and Koda immediately are just like, yep, he's here. It's just immediately used to it. Don't even care anymore. Then next day comes training, right? Where he's gotta train them. Izuku helps out, and so he ends up getting Stain involved, obviously, because he wants to teach them, like, they can't always rely on their quirk, so it's like, have a weapon at least or something, right? And so he also gets Rappa, which I thought at first was like, absolutely not. He's like a villain, but he's like reformed villain, because it's just Izuku's thing. Plenty of reformed villains. Hell, two of them are like, one of them was a police officer, and the other one now is like a jewelry store, and the other now like plenty of things, right? They're like reformed, they have now a second chance, and they all owe it to Izuku, and they're pretty indebted, and they're like, hey Izuku, like they're pretty well, like they hold him in high regard, and Rappa is like one of those people. And Izuku makes a good point, because obviously he's apprehensive at first. Izuku's like, this world is like they can because basically Rappa's just gonna beat the shit out of them to improve their quirk, as in Kurashima and Tetsu, right? To improve their hardening quirk and steel, like just beat the hell out of them. And he's like, either they can do it in a safe environment where recovery goes right there if anything goes wrong, or they can do it out there and die from it, because damn well that those people are gonna try and kill them. They're not gonna be like, oh, we're just they're not gonna go easy on them. Their whole point is trying to kill them because they're in the way. But, they're trying to stop them. And so they can learn in a safe environment or out there, and they're going to die from it. And so obviously, with that, it's like, yeah. So they go through it with him learning, from him. And by the end of it, he does ask one of them when they're, escorting Rafa back out. They do ask one, it's like, what is Izuku's deal? Because at this point, everything is like he knows plenty of reformed villains. Like he's like got them plenty of opportunities. How is he in charge of their cases? What is happening? Like how does he, who's like his connection? How is he doing it? So I was like, his question is, which, he said it's like it's not really his place to say, of what Izuku's been through, his background or anything. But just that he's like a good kid. He just went through a lot. And, this is just kind of how he is. It's not like Aizawa doesn't trust Izuku. He does. Because nothing he's ever, showed him, says otherwise. But it's just, he can't wrap his head around the entire thing, right? Izuku is definitely more than he thought he originally was, right? He's maybe a simple cafe owner. Of course, some heroes down the street from UA, all of them going to the cafe. But then it turns into something more, and he can't get any straight answers from both him and Nezu. They both just give him missing things. And obviously Fatcom did tell him a bit, Rappa, oh, he reformed, he's like a professional boxer now. And some of the other guys who were part of the Yakuza too, they completely normalized now. It's like all of them were given a second chance to reformed. And obviously that person that gave him the second chance is Izuku. And so it's like all of this is too much. It's like, how can one person be a part of all this, like, and do all of this? Like, there's something more going on. And obviously, the fact I'm even saying, like, he's a nice kid, been through a lot. It's just, because he doesn't want to say it. Because clearly he knows, but it's not his place to say. So it's like, clearly, some more is going on with him. There's more to his background. Anyway, that's all I have for today. Thank you so much for watching. And until next time, bye!